Hello everyone, I'm the EFC and this is BlueLionsTV, and today I'm bringing you guys a transfer daily video. Now in this video I'm going to be talking about Alexis Sanchez, Arturo Vidal, plus some loan players returning and that main man Sandro. Now getting straight into the first story, and that is Sandro. As reported by John Cross of the Daily Mirror and by ESPN, they're saying that Juventus are willing to let Sandro leave for £50 million. Now the interesting thing is that they're saying that Juventus are allowing Sandro to leave in January. I'm going to touch on this fact later on in this video. John Cross also states that we are in competition with Manchester United for Sandro's signature. Now the reason why Juventus are willing to let Sandro leave in January is because they're trying to bring in Wendell from Bayer Leverkusen. And of course, Sandro is Conte's #1 target. Now on this channel I've done so many videos surrounding Sandro. I've spoken about how he can improve the team tactically, the qualities he brings, why we need him and how he's going to help free Eden Hazard. I've spoken about why we weren't able to bring him into Chelsea in the end. I've spoken about some transfer negotiation things that's happened behind the scenes as well. But it seems like finally this year in 2018 it's going to be the year that looks like Sandro will finally be leaving Juventus. Now this is where I start giving my opinions on the whole matter. I must be honest, I don't see Sandro coming in January because, again, as was reported earlier by John Cross himself as well, Juventus won't sell Sandro unless they can bring in a replacement. Now, can I see Bayer Leverkusen selling Wendell in the January transfer window? I'm not quite too sure about that. Can Juventus actually bring in that type of player in the January transfer window? Of course, we've got a month to see what's going to happen. If that was to be the case, hypothetically, that they did sign a replacement player for Sandro, then I can see Sandro potentially leaving in January. Another thing I think about is all the reports surrounding Sandro seem to be a bit dated. There isn't anything new regarding things happening behind the scenes. Everything I've stated has kind of been what's been happening for the past couple of months now. But it's really got me thinking this. Now, a few seasons ago, Chelsea was synonymous when it came to signing players under wraps and just randomly signing a player. No reports on him, no press leaks, no nothing. Now I'm going to tell you guys a massive player we missed out on in the summer, and I can finally really disclose all the individual details behind it. Now, this big player you might be wondering was actually Tolisso from Lyon. And this point I'm making about Tolisso is going to really link in with what I'm saying about Sandro. Now, the reason why Tolisso never joined Chelsea was because the negotiations were going on far too long. But why were they going on for so long? Well, we do know that Lyon did want to bring in Bertrand Traore, who I must say is doing fantastically well at Lyon so far. I'm so annoyed that he actually isn't with the squad at this moment in time. And Chelsea were interested in bringing in Tolisso. You know, Conte has wanted a goal-scoring midfield player for a while, and Tolisso has those qualities. Now the hold-up came because Chelsea were hoping to use Bertrand Traore as part of the deal to bring him in to potentially reduce the transfer fee, but Lyon wanted all the money up front and they wanted to negotiate things completely differently. Now, the problem that happened was that negotiations got out and clubs were aware that Tolisso was available on the market and they knew how much he was available for. And this is where Bayern Munich came into play because they did negotiations behind the scenes, behind Chelsea's back, secretly, so now the clubs knew. They agreed the £40 million quickly, Tolisso accepted their terms and he signed for them. And this wasn't the only time that we missed out on a player. Lukaku was another guy too. United did steal him from under our noses as well. And I can't imagine Chelsea are going to make the same mistake 3 times in a row. So we do know that Sandro does have potential suitors other than Chelsea. That's probably going to be Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester United. So it would be stupid for us to really broadcast our negotiations so other clubs are aware how much they need to offer and how much wages they can offer as well, because with Paris Saint-Germain and United they could offer more money compared to what Chelsea could offer Sandro. So it seems like common sense for me that Chelsea will keep this deal under wraps and negotiate secretly behind the scenes and just randomly surprise us with Sandro. And that's really what I'm hoping for. That's just an idea of how I see Chelsea doing business, basically due to how we've done business previously throughout the past couple of transfer windows. Moving on to the second story, and that's in regards to what Antonio Conte was saying about Arturo Vidal and Alexis Sanchez. Now, Conte did have a press conference recently, and when he was asked about Vidal and Sanchez, he stated that Vidal is one of the top midfield players in the world, and he said that Sanchez is one of the best strikers in the world. So that's quite interesting in terms of how Conte sees Sanchez, and if anything, I'm sure that Conte has been fantasizing about having Sanchez as part of that front three. Now for me, this is smart by Conte, as he's doing two things. The first thing is he's letting these players know that, you know what, the manager is interested in us and he would like to see us at Chelsea. And the second thing he's doing is he's putting pressure on the Chelsea board as well, in terms of letting them know the standard of player that he's hoping to bring to the club. Now in regards to Alexis Sanchez, it looks like he won't be signing a new contract with Arsenal and he will be leaving in the summer. Now, Sanchez can sign pre-contract agreements now this month, but there's reports that Man City are going to try to look to bring in Sanchez and actually sign him. And I'm sure that if Arsenal could get money for the player, they'd be more willing to sell him. But the exception would be that Arsenal would have to bring in a replacement for Sanchez before they let him leave. Now, Arsenal made a massive bid for Lamar. Unfortunately, they made the bid for him way too late in the summer and the deal didn't go through. But reports are coming out that Coutinho will be joining Barcelona this month, and Liverpool are the favourites to bring in Lamar from Monaco. So that could potentially scupper any moves of Sanchez leaving in the January window now, because Arsenal would have to sign in a quality replacement if Sanchez was to go. And the peculiar thing is I find about the Sanchez deal is that there really isn't any information surrounding what's happening behind the scenes. Normally there are leaks coming out, the agents are talking, a lot of things are happening behind the scenes, but everything is kept under wraps. And I'm of the belief that Sanchez will probably just announce his signing to a new club randomly one day, and that's how it's going to be, because I'm sure there's a ton of clubs after Sanchez's services in terms of the money they can offer, and I'm sure Sanchez doesn't have to necessarily force any negotiations so far at this moment in time. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens later on during this month in regards to Alexis Sanchez and his future. Moving on to the next story, and that's in regards to Arturo Vidal from Bayern Munich. Now, I did a video on Arturo Vidal last month, and I was of the belief that I can't imagine Vidal coming to the club because there's so many factors going against the deal, which I'm going to touch on later on during this video. But here's all the information surrounding Arturo Vidal at this moment in time. Now, the first interesting piece of information was that Inter Milan were close to bringing Vidal in during the summer, and the only reason why the deal fell through was because Inter couldn't meet financial fair play. Vidal would have cost a lot of money plus wages as well. They were hoping to potentially bring him on loan for this season and then pay a fee at the end of the season, but Bayern Munich weren't interested and the deal collapsed. And that's probably why so many teams are aware that Vidal is available on the market. As reported by a Colombian journalist called Pipe Sierra, he's actually said that Bayern have priced a £60 million euro price on Arturo Vidal. And he also reported that we've made a bid of 37 million euros for Vidal, which has been rejected. Probably a more credible source is the German sports paper called Bild, and they're stating that Chelsea have in fact made contact with Vidal and have offered him the chance to double his wages if he signed for us. Now, this is where I need to start thinking of reality now, because the first stumbling block in any potential move for Vidal is Chelsea's strict policy on players who are 30 years old and above. Now, for players who are 30 years old and above, they only get 1-year contracts. Now, for Chelsea to spend upwards of 30 million plus to bring in Vidal, who would be 31 years old during the next summer window, or if we did sign him for the January transfer window where he's close to being 31 years old, as well as doubling his wages, making him one of the highest earning players at the club, just doesn't make any business sense coming from Chelsea's point of view. Now, Chelsea have had a very strict policy, as I've stated before, and I can't see them just destroying the whole wage budget and the transfer budget to bring in a player who's nearing the end of his career. Now, this is where I'm going to start getting hypothetical and give my opinions now. Sometimes with these news reports, they do come for a reason. It's not necessarily some fake made up thing to gain interest. Most times the news stories are fake. That normally comes from social media or very small footballing sites. The only hypothetical reason I can think of why Chelsea would be okay with, let's say, potentially going for a Sanchez, but trying to bring in Vidal to the club, is that they're willing to adapt their policy. And there's only one reason why I feel Chelsea would feel the reason to adapt their policy and be more flexible in regards to signing older players, and that's probably our rivals in the league with Manchester City. Now, with Manchester City, they're reaching a different level of class and they could really dominate the league in the years to come. And Chelsea may feel, well, if our policy is of signing young players hoping that they're going to develop and improve, well, number one, we don't really improve or develop any types of players. We could potentially be left behind Manchester City. And even though Chelsea are very business astute when it comes to managing their wages and their budgets, they are really in it for winning trophies. That's the main important thing for Chelsea. And they may feel that if they were to keep using this policy, it might not be the most successful way of getting trophies for the club. Not only Man City, Manchester United have the financial resources and they can spend big, and even Liverpool signing Naby Keita and bringing in Virgil van Dijk. And Chelsea may feel that they can't afford to be left in behind, and if we do need to sign players who are reaching 30 years old or are above 30 years old, and it's going to give us a guaranteed chance of actually going for trophies and titles, we may have to do that. Now, it's not the first time that Chelsea have signed older players. I think one player that comes to mind was Michael Ballack. We signed him and he was basically nearly 30 years old, and he had 4 solid seasons with us. This whole myth that when a player reaches 30, he becomes a worse player all of a sudden is a complete myth, especially in modern day football where players have the resources, the fitness regimes and everything to really help them play to a high standard for years to come. Let's say potentially Vidal did come, he could easily play till he was 34 years old. But it seems very likely that Vidal will be leaving. It seems like Goretzka will probably be joining Bayern Munich soon, either in the summer or even hopefully in the January transfer window. So Bayern Munich are obviously going to be replacing Vidal for Goretzka. And ending on the final stories, that's in regards to some loan recalls and our first signing of the January transfer window. Now, in regards to the loan recalls, Casey Palmer and Ike Ugbo have returned to the club. Now, in regards to Palmer, he's been very unfortunate this year because he's had so many injuries that have given him so many setbacks. When Palmer did return back from injury, there wasn't a place for him in the Huddersfield team anymore because the manager had found his system of helping him to cope with the Premier League. And sometimes this is the unfortunate thing with injuries because it can ruin your momentum, and sometimes, especially in high level football, momentum is very key. There's a reason why most injured players don't necessarily walk straight back into teams. And in regards to Ike Ugbo, obviously being at Barnsley, didn't have the greatest loan spell there just yet, didn't really play much in the last 2 months. It's understandable, and I keep stressing this point all the time with Chelsea. What was Ike Ugbo really going to learn playing for Barnsley other than being an isolated figure up front, getting service that he doesn't necessarily get because he normally gets his service from different managers playing for Chelsea youth teams? We should be finding clubs more suited that complement the player's style. Clubs like Barnsley don't really care about player development. It was never going to work regardless. And ending on the final story, and that's in regards to Chelsea's new signing, Verno Ballo. Verno Ballo is 16 years old, an Austrian international. His parents are from Guinea and the Ivory Coast, but they're living in Austria. And he's more of a second striker, a number 9 type of guy that can drop deep, has great pace and great technical attributes. And he seems like the typical Chelsea youth striker that we sign. We like strikers that can do a variety of things. They're able to beat a man like a winger. They're able to drop deep. They're able to play across the front 3. And Ballo fits this mould. Now, Ballo in fact has played for Chelsea numerous times before. Famously, he scored 5 goals against West Ham in a 6-1 win, and he got the assist in the game as well. And Chelsea have been trying very hard to sign him, but of course, because he was under the age of 16 years old, they weren't actually allowed to sign him. This is why this deal has been agreed a while in advance, and this is why he's finally signing the day he's reached 16 years old. Now, with him arriving, as well as having Redan at the club as well, Chelsea have some very exciting, skillful young strikers who are up and coming. So it's going to be really interesting to see what we do with them, because the profile of those 2 strikers are pretty different to your Solankis, Tammy Abrahams and your Ike Ugbos. Maybe you could say they're more of the Mbappe mould, and maybe Chelsea are trying to change the style of striker that they use for their youth systems, because maybe they feel they're more likely to make it in high level football that way. Anyway, you guys, that's going to bring it into today's transfer daily video. Please like, comment and subscribe. Watch my match review later on tonight. It's going to be 20 minutes after the game ends tonight. Don't afford to miss that. It's going to be a big one. Help me make this the biggest match review I've ever had. And if you haven't pressed the bell notification button, what are you waiting for? Press that and stay notified to all things Blue Lions TV, because this month is going to be big. Anyway, you guys, I'm the FC. This is Blue Lions TV. Signing out.